The great chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent. Ambassador Bora sat in Earth's small seat, watching as the council leader raised all four of his arms. The vote was finished. They were condemned. Bora had never seen anything like it. They were a quiet species, known across the galaxy for their skill with living things. They could make plants grow in dead soil. They could cure diseases that killed thousands. Their skin looked like crystal, catching light and throwing rainbows across whatever room they entered. Now, every single one of them was being thrown out of civilized space. "The plague has killed 3 billion souls," the council leader said. His voice boomed through the chamber. "We have no choice. All must leave council territory within 30 days. Any world that harbors them will face severe punishment." The representative, a female named, stood on shaking legs. Her crystalline skin had lost its shine. She looked sick, desperate. "Please," said, "we did not create this plague. We would never harm others. Our entire genetic code prevents us from making weapons. Please just investigate. Look at the evidence." "The evidence is clear," an ambassador said. "They were a powerful species, respected for their military strength. Your people were near all 3 systems when the plague appeared. You have the knowledge to create such a weapon. The logic is simple." "Logic without proof is just prejudice," said quietly. No one listened. The vote had already happened. The decision was made. 847, the last of their kind, had 30 days to find a new home or die. Bora watched as other ambassadors filed out of the chamber. Some looked sad. Most looked relieved. No one wanted to deal with plague makers even if they claimed innocence. The risk was too high. She stayed in her seat thinking. Earth had only been part of the Galactic Council for 23 years. They were still new, still small. Most species barely noticed when Earth's ambassador spoke, but Bora had read the files on the carefully. Something about this whole situation felt wrong. That evening, Bora sent a message to Earth. It took 4 hours for the signal to reach home, 4 more hours for the reply to come back. She spent those hours reading everything she could find about the plague. The more she read, the more questions she had. Where was the actual evidence? Where were the samples of the bioweapon? Where was the proof that they had created it? All she could find were accusations and proximity. They had been near the affected systems. That was all. When Earth's reply came, Bora was not surprised by the concern in the message. Offering asylum to condemned species was dangerous, but she had expected that. What surprised her was the second message, marked urgent, from someone she had not expected. Captain of the deep space vessel had sent a personal note. "I was there when the plague hit the second system," he wrote. "I helped evacuate survivors. I saw the trying to save people, not kill them. Whatever the truth is, it is not what the council says." Bora made her decision. The next day she requested an emergency session. Most ambassadors ignored the request. Earth did not call emergency sessions. Earth barely spoke at regular sessions, but the rules were clear. Any member could call for discussion. The council had to listen. When Bora stood to speak, she saw the annoyance on many faces. The ambassador looked particularly irritated. "Honored Council," Bora began. "Earth wishes to offer temporary asylum to the people, pending a full and proper investigation into the plague accusations." The chamber erupted in noise, shouts, arguments, laughter. The council leader had to call for order 3 times. "This is foolish," the ambassador said. "Humanity would risk plague for these criminals. You have barely 3 colony worlds. You cannot protect yourselves from bioweapons." "Then help us investigate properly," Bora said. She kept her voice calm and clear. "If they are truly guilty, a real investigation will prove it. If they are innocent, justice demands we find the real culprit. Either way, Earth will provide shelter while the truth is discovered." "The truth is already known," another ambassador said. "Is it?" Bora pulled up data on the main screen. "I have reviewed all public evidence. I see proximity. I see suspicion. I do not see proof. I see no samples of the weapon, no genetic markers linking it to bioengineering, no communication intercepts, no confession, just assumptions." The council leader looked uncomfortable. "Ambassador Bora, this matter is closed. The vote is complete." "I am not asking you to change your vote," Bora said. "I am informing you of Earth's decision. We will provide asylum. We will investigate. If we are wrong, we will face the consequences. But we will not condemn a species without real proof." The session ended badly. Several ambassadors warned Bora that Earth was making a terrible mistake. The ambassador promised that humanity would regret its foolishness, but no one could legally stop Earth from offering asylum on its own worlds. 3 days later, Captain received his orders. "Take them to the quarantine station. Retrieve them. Bring them to New Terra colony." Was a practical man. He had fought in the brief border war with the before peace was made. He had seen death and violence. He did not trust easily, but he trusted his instincts, and his instincts said they were not murderers. The quarantine station orbited a dead moon. It was an ugly place, all gray metal and harsh lights. When his team entered the section, they found people living in cramped cells. They looked thin, scared. Their crystalline skin was dull and cracked. Approached slowly. She was clearly the leader even in this terrible place. Her eyes met his and saw intelligence there, and fear. "You are from Earth?" she asked. "Yes," said. "We are here to take you somewhere safe." His hands trembled. "Why would you do this? Why would you doom yourselves for us? Your people do not know us. We bring only danger to you." Thought about his answer carefully. He thought about Earth's history, about the times when humans had been cast out, rejected, condemned by others, about the times when a helping hand had made all the difference. "We have been the outcasts before," he finally said. "We remember what it happens when no one listens, when no one cares about the truth. We would rather risk danger than live with injustice." Stared at him. Then, for the first time in weeks, her crystalline skin caught the light, just a little, just a flicker of hope. "Thank you," she whispered. It took 6 hours to get all 847 onto the and its support ships. They brought almost nothing with them. Most of their possessions had been confiscated or destroyed. They carried only what they wore and the knowledge in their heads. As they left the quarantine station, stood on the bridge and looked at the stars. Somewhere out there was the truth about the plague. Somewhere out there was the real culprit. And somewhere out there, powerful people did not want that truth to be found. But that was a problem for tomorrow. Today, 847 innocent people were going home, not to their original home, perhaps, but to a place where they would be safe, where they would be heard, where they would be given a chance. Set course for New Terra. Behind him, in the cargo bays converted to temporary housing, they held each other and cried. Some cried from relief, some from grief for their destroyed worlds, some from fear of what came next. But all of them cried because, for the first time in months, they were not alone. Earth had answered their call for help. Now they would see if humanity's compassion was strong enough to survive what came next. The protests started before they even landed on New Terra. Governor watched the crowds gathering outside the landing zone and felt her stomach tighten. Angry faces, angry signs. People were afraid and fear made them loud. "Plaguebringers go home," someone shouted. Others took up the chant. Had voted against accepting the. She had made that clear in every meeting. New Terra was humanity's largest colony outside the solar system, home to 2 million people. Those people had worked hard to build a life on this world. They had families, children, dreams. And now Earth's government was asking them to risk everything for aliens accused of genocide. But the decision was made. They were coming. And as governor, it was job to make it work whether she liked it or not. Inside the landing zone's medical facility, Doctor worked quickly. She had 48 hours to complete initial health screenings of all 847 before they could be moved to the isolation facility. Her team worked in full protective gear, taking samples, running tests, checking for any signs of plague or other diseases. Had studied alien biology for 15 years. She had treated traitors and diplomats. She had even saved a child once, earning her a medal from their government, but she had never worked with before. They were beautiful in a strange way. Their crystalline skin was not just decorative. It was functional, part of their respiratory system. They breathed through their skin as much as their lungs. Doctor, one of her assistants called her over. The genetic scan on subject 47 is complete. You need to see this. Looked at the screen and froze. Then she ran the scan again, then a third time. Get me samples from 10 more, she said quietly. Random selection. Run the full genetic analysis on all of them. 6 hours later had her answer. She sat in her office, staring at the data, and felt her hands shake. This changed everything. She called Captain first. He deserved to know. He had risked his career to bring the here. They cannot create the plague, said without introduction. It is genetically impossible. They have modified their own DNA. Every single one of them has a genetic block that prevents them from engineering anything that harms sentient life. It is built into their cells, permanent, unchangeable. Was quiet for a long moment. How long has this been there? Based on the markers, about 10,000 years. They did this to themselves deliberately. An entire species chose to limit their own abilities. Why would they do that? I do not know yet, but whoever created that plague, it was not they literally cannot do it. The news spread fast. Within a day, Ambassador Bora had the report. Within 2 days, she was presenting it to the Galactic Council. The Council's response was exactly what expected and feared. Genetic analysis from a human doctor is not sufficient evidence, the Council leader said. They could have found ways around their genetic blocks, or this could be data. Are you calling me a liar? Bora asked coldly. I am saying your doctor is inexperienced with biology. She may have made mistakes. Bora sent the data to 12 independent xenobiology labs across the galaxy. 8 refused to even look at it. 3 confirmed findings but would not testify. Only 1, a respected scientist, went public with support. It was not enough. The council declared the matter closed again. Back on New Terra, they were moved to an isolated facility 20 kilometers from the main settlement. The building had been a mining station once. Now it was a prison in all but name. High walls, guards, restricted access. They did not complain. They were grateful just to be alive. Was the chief engineer for New Terra's infrastructure. He was responsible for power, water, waste management, and 1,000 other systems that kept 2 million people alive. He did not have time for politics or protests. He had a job to do. But when the isolated facility's water recycler broke down, had to go fix it. That meant entering the section. That meant meeting them face to face. Greeted him at the entrance. She looked healthier than when she had arrived, but still tired, still sad. Thank you for coming, she said. We tried to fix it ourselves, but we do not understand your technology well enough. Grunted and followed her to the recycler. It was a simple fix, a clogged filter. He had it working in 10 minutes, but as he worked, he noticed something strange. The section of the facility looked different than when he had last inspected it. The walls were covered in something green, not mold, something else. It looked like moss but brighter. It glowed slightly in the dim light. What is that? Asked. Bioluminescent lichen, said. We created it. It produces oxygen and absorbs carbon dioxide. It also provides light without using electricity. We thought it might help reduce the facility's power consumption. Stared at the glowing walls, then at the, you created this in 3 weeks. It is what we do, said simply. We work with living things. It is our gift, our purpose. over the next month, found more excuses to visit the facility. He told himself it was just job responsibilities, but really, he was fascinated. They had transformed their prison into something beautiful. They had created air-purifying plants that needed almost no water. They had designed a food production system that grew protein-rich vegetables in half the space of human farms. They offered to share all of it freely. "Why?" asked one day. "Why help us? We are keeping you locked up. Half the colony wants you gone." Smiled sadly. "Because you gave us a chance when no one else would. Because Captain saw us as people, not problems. Because Doctor trusted her science over fear. We cannot repay that with anything except what we are. We are builders, growers, healers. Let us help." The breakthrough came when a child got sick. A 7-year-old girl named, daughter of one of the protest leaders. She contracted a rare genetic disorder. Human medicine could only slow it down, not cure it. She had maybe 6 months to live. Her father, a man named O who had led many of the anti-protests, came to the facility in desperation. He begged for help. "Please," he said, crying. "I know what I said about your people. I know I was wrong, but please, she is my daughter. Did not hesitate. Bring her here, we will try." Doctor worked with 3 bioengineers for 16 hours straight. They created a treatment using techniques that targeted the specific genetic markers of the disease. It was delicate work, dangerous work. One mistake could kill the child. But it worked. 3 days later was cured, completely cured. O stood in the facility holding his healthy daughter and wept. "I am sorry," he said too. "I am so sorry. I was afraid. I did not understand." "Fear is natural," said, "but you were brave enough to ask for help, brave enough to trust us with your child. That is what matters." The protests stopped after that. People started asking questions. If they could cure diseases humans could not treat, what else could they do? What else might they teach? Governor called a meeting with and Doctor. She looked tired but determined. "I was wrong," said bluntly. "I thought bringing you here was a mistake. I thought you were dangerous, but I have seen what you can do. More importantly, I have seen who you are. If you are willing, I want to discuss a real partnership. Not imprisonment, partnership." Looked at the other in the room. They were crying, happy tears this time. "We would be honored," said. But not everyone was happy about this development. Far away, in a different part of the galaxy, the military council received a report about New Terra, about the integration, about the evidence Doctor had found. They had a secret, a terrible secret. They had created the plague, they had done it to eliminate competition in the bioengineering market, and they had framed the perfectly, or so they thought. Now Earth was investigating. Earth was finding evidence. Earth was becoming a problem. "We need to handle this," the military commander said, "before they discover the truth." "How?" his second asked. "Send a diplomatic ship to Earth space. Make it look friendly, but prepare our battle fleet. If humanity does not back down, we will make an example of them." The commander looked at the star map, at the tiny dot that represented Earth's system. Such a small species, such an insignificant threat. This would be easy. He had no idea how wrong he was. 18 months changed everything. New Terra looked different now. The main settlement sparkled with bioluminescent buildings that they had helped design. They looked like they were made of light and living matter, glowing softly at night, producing oxygen during the day. The buildings healed themselves when damaged. They filtered air and water naturally. Walking through the streets felt like walking through a forest and a city at the same time. Lieutenant stood in the garden district and marveled at it. He was young for a tactical officer, only 28, but Captain trusted him. The captain said had good instincts. Right now, those instincts told him that New Terra had become something special. "Beautiful, is it not?" a voice said behind him. Turned to see a male named. They had become friends over the past year. Was an engineer, brilliant with bioarchitecture. He had helped design half the buildings in the district. My father would not believe this, said. When I left Earth, we were still using concrete and steel for everything. This is like something from a dream. Dreams built together are stronger than plans made alone, said. It was a saying. Had heard it many times now. The loved their sayings. They walked through the district together talking about nothing important. Ship repairs, food, the weather. It was the kind of conversation friends had not expected to make friends with an alien, but was not just an alien. He was kind, funny, smart, a person. While they walked, Captain was in a secure room with Doctor and looking at data that made his blood run cold. They had been investigating the plague for over a year, working in secret. They had examined samples, traced patterns, analyzed the bioweapon structure, and they had found something. Look at this sequence, said, pointing to the screen. This is the plague's genetic signature. These markers here, they are not. Leaned closer. Are you certain? 98% certain. They are known for weapons development. This bioweapon has their engineering style all over it. The precision, the redundancy, the military efficiency. They could never create something like this, even if their genetic blocks did not exist. Looked at the data with sad eyes, so they condemned us to hide their own crime. It appears so, said gently. Stood and paced the room. We need to take this to Ambassador Bora. She needs to bring it to the council. They will deny it, said. They are powerful. The council will not want to believe this. Maybe, said, but we have to try. Ambassador Bora received the evidence and immediately understood the danger. Accusing the of genocide and cover-up was not just serious. It was potentially deadly. They had the third largest military in the galaxy. They had destroyed planets for smaller insults. But she also understood that truth mattered. Justice mattered. If Earth stayed silent, they became complicit in this false condemnation. She sent a private message to Earth's government. They debated for 3 days. Then they gave her permission to proceed. Bora presented the evidence to the council in a closed session. She laid out everything. The genetic markers, the engineering patterns, the timeline that showed ships near all 3 plague sites before the outbreaks. She spoke for 2 hours, methodical and precise. The council's response was silence. Then the ambassador stood. This is an insult, he said coldly. Earth dares to accuse us of genocide, us who have maintained galactic peace for centuries. This is nothing more than a desperate attempt to justify harboring plague bringers. We demand an apology. I present evidence, not insults, Bora said. If the evidence is wrong, prove it. Open an investigation. Let independent scientists examine the plague samples. Let the truth speak. The truth has already spoken, the ambassador said. They were found guilty. That decision stands, and now Earth has made an enemy. 3 days later, a diplomatic ship arrived in Earth's solar system. It came with messages of friendship and trade discussions. But Captain was not fooled. He had fought enough battles to recognize a threat assessment mission when he saw one. They were studying Earth's defenses, counting ships, measuring response times, preparing. They are going to attack, told Governor during a secure call. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next week, but soon. They cannot let our evidence stand. Looked older than her years. What do? We prepare, and we finish the investigation. If we are going to face the military, we better have undeniable proof when we do it. On New Terra, the human partnership had created something remarkable. The first bioship was nearing completion. It was not a large vessel, more of a patrol frigate, but it was alive in ways no human ship had ever been. Its hull could repair itself. Its systems adapted to damage. It grew stronger the longer it lived. Had overseen the construction with 6 engineers. It had taken a year of work, combining human technology with bioengineering. The result was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. What will you name it? Asked as they watched the final tests. I do not know, said. It should be something meaningful, something that represents what we have built together. Hope suggested, name it Hope. Smiled, number Hope is good, but I think it needs something stronger. What about Unity? Unity works, agreed. The bioship Unity completed its tests successfully. It was fast, strong, efficient. But more than that, it was proof that humans could create things together that neither could make alone. Then the messages started coming. Anonymous at first, encrypted warnings from sympathetic voices in the council. "They are mobilizing," one message said. "They plan to demand you surrender. When you refuse, they will attack. You have 2 weeks, maybe less." Ambassador Bora brought the warnings to the public. She made a galaxy-wide broadcast explaining everything: the evidence against the threats against Earth, the choice humanity faced. "We can surrender innocent people to murderers," Bora said into the camera. "We can let injustice stand because fighting it is dangerous, or we can stand for what is right, whatever the cost. Earth has made its choice. We stand we stand for truth, and we will face whatever comes." The broadcast went viral across the galaxy. Billions watched it. Some species called Earth foolish, others called them noble, but everyone watched to see what would happen next. On New Terra, Lieutenant trained with a mixed crew of humans and they were preparing to crew the Unity if war came. Was part of the crew, serving as the biosystems engineer. "Are you afraid?" asked him during a break. "Yes," said honestly. "I am afraid, but I am also grateful. Your people have given us a home, given us hope. If I must fight to protect that, I will fight. Fear does not change duty." Nodded. "My grandfather told me something once. He said the bravest people are not the ones who feel no fear. They are the ones who feel fear and do what is right anyway." "Your grandfather was wise," said. Governor held a town meeting in New Terra's main square. 10,000 people attended, human and together. She spoke plainly about the danger they faced. "They are coming," she said. "They may demand we give up our friends, they may threaten us, they may attack us. I will not lie to you. This is dangerous. This could cost us everything, so I am giving you a choice. Anyone who wants to leave New Terra, we will provide transport. No judgment, no shame. You have families, you have lives. I understand if you want to protect them." The square was silent for a long moment. Then someone in the crowd shouted, "We stand together." Others took up the call, "Together, together, together." Not everyone stayed. About 3,000 people chose to evacuate, mostly families with young children. No one blamed them, but nearly 2 million remained. They had built this world with they would defend it with them too. 12 days after Ambassador Bora's broadcast, the battle fleet arrived in Earth space. 10 warships, heavy cruisers and destroyers. They positioned themselves just outside Earth's defense perimeter and sent a message. "You have 48 hours to surrender all in your territory. Failure to comply will result in corrective military action. This is your only warning." Earth's defense fleet scrambled. 15 ships total, old destroyers, a few frigates, and 2 aging battlecruisers. Against 10 warships, they were badly outnumbered. Captain took command of and positioned it at the front of Earth's formation. Lieutenant brought the Unity up from New Terra, its living hull glowing faintly in the darkness of space. On Earth, in the government chambers, the debate was fierce. Some wanted to negotiate, some wanted to surrender but the majority stood firm. "We do not negotiate with terrorists," the Earth Defense Minister said. "We do not surrender innocent people to executioners. Send our response." The message went out to the fleet, short, simple, defiant. "No." The commander could not believe what he was reading. A minor species, barely a fraction of military power, had just refused a direct order. It was insulting. It was unthinkable. "Destroy them," he ordered. The first shot lit up the darkness of space like a small sun. The lead cruiser fired its main plasma cannon at the captain saw it coming and gave the order to evade. The rolled hard to port, but the blast still caught their starboard shields. Alarms screamed across the bridge. "Shields at 60%, the tactical officer reported. "Hull intact." "Return fire," ordered calmly. "All batteries, target their weapon systems." Earth's defense fleet opened up on the ships. Missiles, particle beams, everything they had. It was like throwing rocks at a mountain. The ships were bigger, better armed, and their shields were twice as strong as anything Earth had. But Earth had one advantage. They were defending their home, and they were not fighting alone. On the Unity, Lieutenant coordinated with and the mixed crew. The bioship moved differently than human vessels. It was more fluid, more organic. It did not turn so much as flow through space. "Target the cruiser on the left," ordered. "Can you reroute power to forward weapons?" "Already done," said. His hands moved over the biointerface controls. The Unity systems responded instantly, living tissue channeling energy where it was needed. The Unity fired. Its weapons were enhanced with biotechnology. The shots did not just hit the cruiser's shields. They partially ignored them, the bioengineered particles finding microscopic gaps in the shield matrix. The cruiser shuddered, its shields flickered. "Again," ordered. Across the battle space, Ambassador Bora's broadcast was still spreading through the galaxy. Species that had remained silent were starting to react. In the council chambers, several ambassadors demanded an emergency session. The ambassador stood first. "The attack on Earth is illegal, unprovoked. We demand immediate intervention." "They are enforcing galactic security," the council leader said weakly. "Earth harbors condemned criminals." "Earth harbors innocent people," the ambassador shot back. "We have seen the evidence. They are the criminals here, and if the council will not act, then individual species must." 5 species broke from the council in the next hour. The 5 species who had watched Earth stand for justice and decided they could not stay silent anymore. Their fleets were already moving, racing toward Earth space, but they were hours away, maybe too late. In Earth space, the battle was going badly. 2 of Earth's destroyers were already crippled. They had taken heavy damage. 1 cruiser was damaged but still fighting. The rest were barely scratched. "Sir, we cannot hold this position," the tactical officer said. "We need to fall back." "If we fall back, they bombard Earth," said grimly. "We hold the line." On the Unity, alarms shrieked. A destroyer had targeted them, firing a spread of heavy missiles, watched them coming and knew they could not evade them all. "Emergency power to shields. Everyone brace for impact." His hands flew over the controls. The Unity's living hull responded, thickening, hardening. The shields flared to maximum strength. The missiles hit. The first 3 were absorbed by the shields. The 4th punched through, slamming into the hull. The Unity shuddered violently. Crew members were thrown from their seats. Sparks flew from damaged systems. But the hull held, more than held, watched in amazement as the damaged section began to repair itself. Living tissue growing over the wound, sealing it, healing it. "We are still operational," reported. His voice was strained but steady. "Hull integrity at 72% and rising. The ship is healing itself." "Get us back in the fight," ordered. The Unity swung back toward the formation. As it moved, saw something that made his blood run cold. The flagship was changing position, moving toward Earth itself. It was preparing to bypass the defense fleet entirely and strike the planet directly. "Do you see this?" called over the command channel. "We see it," responded. "We are moving to intercept." But that was too far away, too damaged. It would not make it in time. The Unity was closer, looked at his crew, human and together. They knew what he was thinking. They knew what he had to do. "We cannot stop the flagship alone," said quietly. "It is too big, too strong." "Maybe we cannot stop it," agreed. "But we can slow it down, give the time to get there. That will mean putting ourselves directly in their path. one of the human crew members said. "We will take the full force of their weapons." "I know," said he. Looked at each of them. "I am not ordering this. I am asking, will you stand with me?" Every hand went up, human and together. "Then let us give them something to remember," said. The Unity accelerated directly at the flagship. It was a tiny ship facing a massive warship. It should have been suicide, but the Unity was not a normal ship. As the flagship opened fire, channeled every bit of power into the shields and hull, the living tissue of the ship responded, adapting, strengthening. The Unity took hit after hit. Each blast tore into its hull. Each shot should have destroyed it. But it kept coming. "Hull integrity critical," reported. Blood was running down his face from a cut on his forehead. "I am redirecting life support to structural repair. We have maybe 2 minutes before total failure." "2 minutes is enough," said. He aimed the Unity directly at the flagship's main weapon array and fired everything they had. The shots hit home. The flagship's weapons flickered and died. The massive ship slowed, forced to deal with the damage. "Did we stop them?" one of the crew asked. "No," said, "but we bought time." Then the flagship fired again, a desperate shot from its secondary batteries. It hit the Unity amidships. The living hull could not absorb it all. The blast tore through into the engineering section. Was thrown across the room. He hit the wall hard and crumpled. Was beside him in seconds. "Stay with me." His crystalline skin was cracked and dark. His breathing was shallow, but his eyes were clear when he looked at. "The hull breach," he whispered. "In engineering, I can seal it. My body, my crystalline structure, it can form a temporary barrier." "No," said, "there has to be another way." "There is not," said he. Gripped hand. "You gave us home, we give you future. Fair trade, yes." Before could stop him, pulled himself to his feet and staggered toward engineering. Tried to follow, but debris blocked the way. Through the security camera, watched as positioned himself against the hull breach. This body began to change, his crystalline structure spreading, growing, forming a living seal over the wound. The air stopped escaping. The pressure stabilized, but did not move again. "No," whispered, "no, no, no." The tactical officer grabbed his shoulder. "Sir, the is in position. They are engaging the flagship." Looked at the screen through tears. The battered but still fighting was hammering the flagship. Other Earth ships joined in. The flagship, damaged and unable to use its main weapons, began to fall back. But barely saw it. He was still looking at the engineering camera, at his friend's body, frozen in its final act of sacrifice. Then the sensors lit up. New contacts, dozens of them, ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. The fleet had arrived. And 50 ships total. Not a huge force by galactic standards, but enough. The commander saw them coming and knew he had lost. His fleet was damaged. Earth's allies had arrived. If he continued the battle, his ships would be destroyed. "Fall back," he ordered bitterly. "We retreat." The fleet jumped away, leaving debris and damaged Earth ships behind. But they also left something else. They left proof that Earth had stood against them and survived. Captain stood on the bridge of looking at the Allied fleet surrounding them. Ships from 5 different species, all here because Earth had done the right thing. "Send our thanks," he told his communications officer, "to all of them." On the Unity, held a memorial service for. The crew gathered around the sealed engineering section. Through the barrier, they could still see his crystalline form, now permanently part of the ship he had died to save. "He was my friend," said quietly. "He taught me that courage is not the absence of fear. It is doing what must be done despite fear. He showed me that home is not a place. It is people who care for each other. He gave his life so that we could live. I will never forget him." The crew stood in silence, human and friends, family. Back on New Terra, Governor received the casualty reports. 73 had died in the battle, serving on Earth ships. fighting to protect the world that had given them sanctuary. They had not been asked to fight. They had not been ordered to risk their lives. They had chosen it. Came to office that evening. The elder looked older now, tired. "We are no longer exiles," said. "We are home, and we defended that home with everything we had. Your people gave us that. We can never repay it." "You already have," said. She stood and embraced, human and holding each other. "You already have." Far away, in the Galactic Council chambers, the ambassador was being arrested. The evidence against his species was now overwhelming. With Earth's allies supporting the investigation, the Council could not ignore it anymore. The truth was coming out. Justice, delayed but not, was finally happening. But For, standing in the Unity's engineering section, staring at his friend's crystalline form, Justice felt hollow, was gone. That could not be changed. But his sacrifice would not be forgotten. Named his duty station's watch. He would serve there for the rest of his career, in the place where his friend had given everything. Because that is what you did when someone saved your life. You remembered them. You honored them. You made sure their sacrifice meant something. And you kept fighting for the world they died to protect. 3 years after the battle, New Terra looked like a dream made real. The city had grown beyond anyone's imagination. Bioluminescent towers reached toward the sky, their living walls filtering air and producing oxygen. Gardens grew on every rooftop. Rivers ran clean through the streets, purified by biofilters. Children played in parks where trees grew fruit year-round. Human and children, playing together. Admiral walked through the central plaza and smiled. He had retired from active military service 6 months ago, but he could not stay away from New Terra. This place represented everything he had fought for, everything humanity could be when it chose compassion over fear. "Admiral," a young voice called out, turned to see a small human boy running toward him, followed by a child. They were classmates at the new academy. "What can I do for you?" asked, kneeling down to their level. "We are doing a school project," the boy said. "About the battle, about when you fought can you tell us what it was like?" Looked at the children, so young, so innocent. They had been bobbies when the battle happened. They did not remember the fear, the protests, the anger. They had grown up in a world where humans and were just people, neighbors, friends. "It was scary," said honestly. "But we did what we had to do. We protected our friends." "My teacher says you are a hero," the child said. Their crystalline skin sparkled in the sunlight. "No," said. "The real heroes were the ones who did not come home, like the 73 who fought beside us. They are the heroes. I just did my duty." The children nodded seriously and ran off to continue their project. Watched them go and felt a weight in his chest. Bittersweet. This world had cost so much, but it was worth it. In the council chambers, now called the United Galactic Assembly, Chancellor Bora stood at the podium. She was no longer just Earth's ambassador. She had been elected leader of the new coalition that had formed after the battle. 23 species now belonged to what everyone called the Terran Coalition. Minor species, forgotten species, species that had been ignored by the old council for too long. Together, they had become something the galaxy could not ignore. "We stand here today not as Earth or, Bora said to the assembled delegates. "We stand as equals, as partners, as proof that cooperation is stronger than domination." The ambassador nodded in agreement. The representative clapped their hands together in their species gesture of approval. Even some of the old council members looked thoughtful. The vote was close. After weeks of debate, the proposal to merge the old Galactic Council with the Terran Coalition into one united assembly had finally come to a vote. Some coalition members did not trust the council. Too much bad history, too many betrayals. But Bora had argued that holding grudges helped no one, that creating a new division would just repeat old mistakes, that the goal was not revenge but progress. "We did not fight to prove we were better," she had said during the debates. We fought them to prove that everyone deserves justice. That includes the council species. That includes our former enemies. We build bridges, not walls. The final vote came in, 207 in favor, 193 against. It was not overwhelming, but it was enough. The United Galactic Assembly was born. Doctor stood in her laboratory at the Terran Academy, surrounded by students from a dozen different species. She was teaching advanced xenobiology now, sharing the knowledge she had gained from working with them for 3 years. The key to understanding alien biology, she told her students, is not to look for what is different. Look for what is the same. We all breathe. We all need energy. We all want to survive. Start from common ground and differences become interesting instead of frightening. One of her students, a young, raised their hand. Doctor, is it true that you were the first to prove our people were innocent? Smiled. I was the first human to prove it with science, but Captain proved it with his heart when he came to rescue you. Ambassador Bora proved it with her courage when she stood up to the council. You were innocent all along. I just showed the evidence. After class, walked to the memorial garden. It was a quiet place, filled with trees and flowers from Earth and from the 73 crystalline markers stood in neat rows, one for each who had died defending Earth. The largest marker was for, stood before it and touched the smooth crystal surface. She visited often. So did many others. The memorial was never empty. We published that book you helped me research, she said quietly to the marker. The Biology of Trust. It is required reading in xenobiology programs across the galaxy now. You would have liked it. It has your data throughout. The crystal seemed to glow a little brighter in the sunlight. Knew it was just refraction, but she liked to think it was, somehow, acknowledging her words. Captain stood on the bridge of the Living Star, the new flagship of the Coalition fleet. It was much larger than the Unity had been, more powerful, more advanced. But it was still a bioship, still alive, still a collaboration between human engineering and biotechnology. He was not lieutenant anymore, not even captain. He was admiral now, commander of the entire Coalition fleet. But he would always think of himself as just the young officer who had learned what friendship meant from an engineer. His second-in-command approached. Sir, we are ready to depart for the patrol route. Thank you, said, then he paused. Commander, do you have children? The commander looked surprised. Yes, sir, 2 daughters, why? What are their names? And sir, named after the doctor and the governor. Smiled, good names. I have a son myself, born 6 months ago. I named him. The commander's expression softened. That is a beautiful tribute, sir. He was my friend, said simply. I want my son to know what real friendship means, what sacrifice means, what it means to stand for something bigger than yourself. On New Terra, Governor had finally stepped down after 12 years of service. She was old now, her hair gray, her movements slow, but her mind was sharp as ever. She spent her retirement teaching at the academy, political science, ethics, history. She told the students about the early days when people had been afraid, when protests had filled the streets, when the future had been uncertain. We made mistakes, she told them honestly. I made mistakes. I voted against accepting thee at first. I was afraid. I thought we were risking too much. I was wrong. What changed your mind? A student asked. A little girl named said. She was sick, dying. They saved her life even though her father had protested against them. They could have refused. They could have held a grudge, but they did not. They just helped. That is when I understood. They were not the danger. Fear was the danger. Hate was the danger. Injustice was the danger. Attended's last lecture. The elder was old too now, her crystalline skin faded and cloudy with age. She moved slowly, supported by younger, but she had insisted on being there. After the lecture, the 2 old friends sat together in the garden, looking out over the city they had built together. Do you remember when we first met? Asked. You asked if we could truly be partners. I remember, said. I was so afraid you would change your mind, that you would send us away. I almost did, admitted. I am glad I did not. So am I, said. She took his hand, human and old friends who had seen the best and worst of both species. We built something beautiful together. Yes, agreed. Yes, we did. In classrooms across the galaxy, students studied the crisis as it was now called. They learned about the false accusations, the exile, Earth's decision to offer asylum, the investigation, the battle, the truth. But more importantly, they learned about what came after, about partnership, about trust, about building something better together. A young student on a distant world raised their hand. Teacher, why did Earth help when no one else would? The teacher, an elderly who had watched the events unfold, thought carefully about the answer. Because humanity remembered being alone, the teacher finally said. Before they joined the galaxy, humans thought they were the only intelligent species in the universe. They knew what it felt like to be isolated, to be different. So when they saw others suffering that same isolation, they could not look away. They remembered, and they promised themselves that as long as they had power to help, they would never let anyone feel that alone again. Is that true for all humans? The student asked. No, the teacher said honestly. Humans are individuals. Some are kind, some are cruel, some are brave, some are cowards, but enough of them chose kindness that it made all the difference. That is the lesson. You do not need everyone to choose right. You just need enough people to stand up when it matters. The student thought about this, then asked one more question. If it happened again, would they still help? The teacher smiled. Look at the coalition. 23 species, most of them small and weak by themselves, but together they are strong. Humans did not just help they showed the entire galaxy a better way. Would they do it again? They are doing it right now, every day, with every species that joins the coalition. In the memorial garden on New Terra stood for the last time. She was dying. The healers had told her she had maybe a week left. She had lived a long life, much longer than most of her kind. She had seen her people go from condemned exiles to equal partners in a galactic coalition. It was enough. Came to sit with her. The governor had to use a walking stick now, but she came anyway. Friends did not abandon friends. I will miss this place, said quietly. It will miss you too, said. Everyone will. I am not afraid, said. I am going to join and the others, the ones who gave everything so we could have this. That is a good company to join. Tell them thank you from all of us, said. Tears ran down her face. I will, promised, and I will tell them what we built, how their sacrifice was not wasted, how humans and stand together now, how we are family. She closed her eyes and smiled. Her crystalline skin, even faded and old, caught the light one last time, throwing rainbows across the garden. Beautiful, peaceful. We were cast out, she whispered, but humanity embraced us, and together we changed the galaxy. Those were her last words. Held her friend's hand until the end, crying quietly in the garden they had built together. The next day, the entire coalition mourned. His funeral was attended by thousands, humans, representatives from every coalition species. Even some old council species sent delegates. Admiral gave the eulogy, taught us that exile is not the end, that being cast out by some does not mean you have no value. She taught us that home is not where you are born. Home is where you are welcomed, where you are loved, where you belong. She found that home here. We were honored to give it to her. They added her marker to the memorial garden, the 74th crystal. It stood besides two leaders who had given everything for a better future. Years later, students still visited the garden. They learned the names, the stories, the sacrifices. They learned that the galaxy they enjoyed, with its peace and cooperation and justice, had been built by people who chose to do the right thing even when it was hard, even when it was dangerous, even when it cost them everything. And they learned the most important lesson of all, That when someone is cast out, when someone is condemned, when someone is alone and afraid and innocent, you stand with them. You embrace them. You give them a chance. Because that is what humanity did for the. And in doing so, they showed the entire galaxy what they could become, together.